About this movie, Janet Maslin of the New York Times says video-addicted kids may find this exciting, but for anyone old enough to stay out later than 9 p.m., it's a distinct bore. Rita Kembley of the Washington Post says Hollywood hucksters, zap them, have borrowed from Japanese game pushers in this shameless attempt to sucker America's children. But Felix Vasquez Jr. calls it a solid and entertaining road film that is never cloying or abundantly sweet. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we're joined by Jeff Rubin to determine the fate of the Wizard.
Reboot. Which one will it be?
It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, starfighters, explorers, heavyweights, wizards, everybody who's here for Child Star Month.
Yeah, and on the next, if we're gonna count the next one, then also bears.
All of you bad news bears.
So thanks for listening, everybody. Ruined Childhoods. We're gonna get straight to it because we've got a lot to cover here, and we are joined by not only a hometown homie, but also like somebody who we've known most of our lives. We met at a camp going back to the last episode. We met because of a summer camp. It's Jeff Rubin.
Hello.
How's it going?
Welcome.
Great. How's it going? I've done a lot of podcasts. This is the first one I've done with like a video component where I can see you guys, and it's like freaking me out. Like usually I'm doing a podcast, I'm just like, you know, going nuts on my fidget spinner. I'm doing a Sudoku or whatever. But now I gotta like really pay attention.
Yeah, you're on the hook for this one.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's okay. Thank you so much for hanging with us. For anybody who doesn't know Jeff, you might remember him from some of the old College Humor stuff. Jeff was with Buzzfeed Video for a while and is the creator of a new online game called The Lies Game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Oh, cool. Fun.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. That's right. That's all correct.
Jeff, you can go a little bit further back from the
mic.
A
little bit further? All right,
or turn the gain down because you're clipping a little bit. Yeah.
All right. I will turn the gain down.
Yeah.
Such a fucking amateur here. Okay. Sorry, it's a new mic. Leave all this in. Everyone wants to hear all the gritty details. Leave it in.
Jeff is also a professional podcaster of the Jeff Rubin Show, who's been doing it for a long-ass time.
Though I've been on a long-ass hiatus, but it's coming back. It will be back soon.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Before we get to anything from even the last episode, I want to talk about a few news items that by the time this comes out, a week from tomorrow, this is going to be old news. But I just read that Disney Plus is remaking 3 Men and a Baby with Zac Efron.
Huh. Is he playing the baby or one of the 3 men?
All 3 of the men, my guess.
He's playing all 3 of the men.
Yeah,
all 3.
Everybody plus the baby is all Zac Efron.
3 Men and a Baby is itself a remake of a French movie, so it's not like a sacred thing that can't be remade.
So also news as of today when we're recording, which is the 10th, we have the MacGruber series going to Peacock, which I'm excited about. Jeff, are you a MacGruber fan?
You know, I am. It took me a while to come. I don't know why. I just had missed it at first, but then I finally watched it, and it is truly glorious and
it was
hilarious.
Like, oh yeah, this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny, and I really regret sleeping on it as long as I did, and I will not make the same mistake with the TV show.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good team.
Look, Mac, are you sure you won't change your mind about letting Piper here join you? He'd make a hell of an asset.
I would love to. But the van's pretty full. You see, it's filled with American heroes with over 100 years of combined combat experience and a whole lot of brotherhood. And no, you can't ride in the trunk, bud. Because the trunk is filled with over 75 pounds of homemade C4 explosive that I personally packed in there with my own 2... No. Todd, you guys okay? Oh, somebody's got to be in there. Oh, call 911. Call 911. Oh.
I'm just curious to see how the TV show is going to work. Like the movie was, I saw it when it was first. I mean, actually before it came out, I saw like screening of it, and it was so unlike anything you'd expect.
Right.
That it was, or at least unlike anything I expected, that it was a bit jarring, and I didn't really watch it again until in the last year. And knowing a little bit more what to expect, I was able to appreciate it a lot more, and I can appreciate how it's gained a following in the last 10 years. But it's almost like that movie is, I don't want to call it lightning in a bottle, but
it's out there.
You watch that movie, I'm just like, well, where do you go from here?
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess you could parody like action TV shows in the same way the movie parodies action movies, like kind of scope down and do TV shows. I guess, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means, but there's like more enough action tropes for them to kind of chew on. Yeah.
Oh my God, totally. And I trust them. I completely trust them.
And I guess on Peacock TV, it's uncensored. So.
Oh, is it?
I will sign up for Peacock to watch this, and if as long as like
Peacock is free, but just if you pay for it,
really?
It's like fewer ads or something like that.
I will learn what the deal with Peacock is to watch this.
And Dan, do you want to tell everybody? Do you want to bring up the other bit of news, which I think that most people would know about by now?
Yeah. So this was going around that there in the works is a animated quasi remake of Blazing Saddles. Yeah, Blazing Samurai.
I'm glad we're talking about this, fellas. What is up with this? I feel like I saw this like a decade ago on Ain't It Cool News. Is that right? Like this has been kicking around for
Is it just me?
I saw this on like Ain't It Cool News, which is so long ago because I haven't looked at that site in so long. But I
didn't know that it was still around.
Jeff, yes, I remember what you're talking about.
I feel like I've like heard this theory before that there's like an animated remake of Blazing Saddles, which just doesn't make any sense.
And it's not like it's a full remake, I guess, but it's what, like a cat becomes sheriff of an old dog town,
something like that.
And it's the type of movie you could make this movie, and it would be just fine if you didn't say it had anything to do with Blazing Saddles, and then people would be, it's kind of like Blazing Saddles.
You know what this reminds me of? Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, it's like
without all of the stuff that makes Blazing Saddles good.
I mean, kind of like what we're going to talk about with the Wizard, because the Wizard is often referred to as like a pint-sized Rain Man or Tommy with video games.
Right.
It's interesting and problematic. And
I want to quote my friend Mike Drucker, who's a very funny comedian. He tweeted, he like retweeted the news, and his comment was, "Turns out people who shout Blazing Saddles could never be made today were both right and wrong," which I think is very funny.
Yes. I saw that. Believe I responded to it, in fact.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I know that we are typically ones to shout like, you know what, why not? Like, you're not going to ruin anything by remaking it or whatever. The original will always be there. But it's possible to do it in a really weird, bad way. And look, they haven't done it yet, so we don't know. But
they're just weird.
What if it's good? What if it's like legit good?
And it probably will be with all the shit that people are talking about it before it's even a thing.
I guess. I mean, look at what happened to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, where they
future Oscar winner probably
put out a trailer. Everyone well, hey, Bad Boys for Life. That's where my money is.
I dug the Sonic movie. I thought it was totally not terrible.
I wanted to see it, but I just didn't get the chance.
That's what I heard. I heard it was really good, and they pushed it back how long because they put out a trailer and everyone complained and got all pissed off that Sonic didn't look right or something. Like, we know what a blue ring collecting hedgehog should authentically look like. So I don't know. I just don't see why you have to call it a remake of Blazing Saddles if, like, you know what you're bringing on.
I don't know.
By doing that. So remains to be seen.
I have a couple of one more things to talk about. So Jeff, on our last episode, we did the movie Heavyweights with I've
only seen like
Box
half
Brown.
that movie once. I'm not that familiar with it.
Well, it's on Disney Plus, I believe, and it's worth watching. It is kind of ridiculous.
It's entertaining.
It's better than I thought it would be.
That's its reputation is pretty good, actually.
Yeah. Hey, who knew? Pretty good.
That just about sums it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were talking about other like camp movies, and we totally didn't mention Sleepaway Camp.
Oh yeah,
one of the classics.
We did not.
Really, I know the like it's like there's like a big twist or something, but I've never really seen Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, it's big, all right. So I remember the twist. I think we were talking about it more in the context of like camp comedies, the Meatballs and Ernest.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then you've got Friday the 13th. And,
sure. But anyway, Sleepaway Camp, you can look at it as a comedy.
You certainly can.
You certainly can.
Another you can
thing,
look at it in a lot
one
of
other
ways.
thing that I wanted to bring up that I couldn't believe I didn't bring up last time, but I'm glad that I'm doing it now because Jeff is here. And Jeff and I went to, we all met at a day camp, but Jeff and I went to a sleepaway camp together with our brother Scott called Timberlake West. And on the last episode, Brian Box Brown mentioned the made-for-TV movie Poison Ivy, and he had talked about how that camp had a color war. And I have a very specific memory of the camp that we went to and a color war that we had, which, first of all, the color war was always like broken out by like and I'm saying this in quotes, celebrity. Like one year it was like a Jerry Seinfeld impersonator.
You get like someone to do like an appearance. I don't know. Like someone's like, I don't know. Someone
from like the New York Rangers or something.
Yeah, we had Mike Richter from the New York Rangers come, which was pretty cool. I was in hockey at the time. Yeah, he was like, the Rangers were like good. He was like a star player. It was pretty
Mike Richter,
good.
yeah.
Didn't he come? Am I making that up?
He did. He totally came. But like the Jerry Seinfeld impersonator, I don't know if you were.
I don't remember that one. The other one I remember was Ken
weird.
Danico from the New Jersey Devils, who was like, as in my recollection, like a real goon of a hockey player. Like he just got in a lot of fights, so that was exciting.
He had like zero teeth, if I remember right. But anyway, I have this crazy memory from one of the color wars, and Jeff, I don't know if like you were on the same team that I was on or what the deal was, and I called our brother Scott, and he didn't remember anything about it, but I swear this was a thing. But each team was to perform a song at like the the climax of the color war.
Do you want to explain what color war is in case anyone is like kind of freaking out at this point?
So they split the camp up into two different teams, like red and blue is what we had. So it's just like
we were red and white because those were the camp colors.
Whatever, red and white. So everybody's just kind of randomly split in half. Like,
but
even
here's the
people,
thing, is it's actually not random because me and your brother, we were like the same age. You're younger, so you were like on your other team or whatever. But me and your brother were the same age, and all 3 years we went to that camp, him and I were never on the same team.
Oh,
and
really?
It's because we were the number 1 and 2 worst athletes. So like, just like you couldn't have the 2 best athletes on the same team, you also can't have the 2 worst athletes. So we were always on opposite. And just to be clear, I'm the worst by far. Scott was better than me.
that's saying a lot.
But they basically, they divide the camp up into like 2 teams, and it's like everything you're doing for those like 3 days or whatever is like for points. It's like when you're eating, it's like whoever behaves the best gets points. You got to like clean the bunk for points, and like every game's for points or whatever. And it's like it all culminates in this like insane thing that, as to my recollection, the counselors would like pull all-nighters. I mean, I don't know what they were just telling us or whatever, like, but they would build these like elaborate sets because they were themed. It'd be like red movies versus like white music or something like that. Like, and one side would be like movies themed, one side would be movies themed. Anyway, are you gonna get to the very emotional songs they made us learn?
Yes. And were you on my team when some people had written new lyrics to the tune of Tears in Heaven? That were all about.
That's so fucking funny. I can do ours. I want to hear about that. Do you remember the lyrics? Because I remember the lyrics to one of mine. Here's what I would like to say about Color War, and I want to say it quickly because I want to talk about the Wizard so much.
Yeah, I know.
I do remember. Yeah, they would make everyone learn a song, and it was like there were 2 songs. One was like a funny, silly one, just like kind of about how much fun we were having at camp, and then one was like a very emotional one.
The Tears in Heaven type song.
Yeah, that's the Tears in Heaven one, and they would like drill it into you. You'd like have to go and rehearse rehearse it for like 3 1-hour sessions a day. They'd be like, I just came over from the red team and I can hear them from the dining hall. Like, you guys gotta be louder, you know? And it was like, just so, I hated it so much. Like, I really dreaded Color War. I think
it was the worst. It was
anyway,
the worst.
They've got a 4-part harmony. That's what friends are for, damn it.
So That's What Friends Are For would be a perfect one. I actually honestly don't even know the song. You guys would know it. It's a pretty famous song, but I associate it so strong with Color War. I actually don't even know the actual lyric. I think it's Phil Collins. I'll sing it. I think you'll know the tune. It's like, okay, so the song was like, this is the only place I ever felt right at home. Hear it? Oh, it's Take a Look at Me Now. That's the song. It's Take a Look at Me Now. And it was like, the Take a Look at Me Now was here at Timberlake West. Friends become family. The one thing that pulls me through is the thought of you and our young hearts running free.
Oh my God.
Timberlake West. Can you believe that?
Definitely remember that. I definitely remember that.
So just like, it's our friends. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
It's absolutely crazy.
So I'm so glad Scott is loving this, by the way. I don't know if anyone else cares, but your brother is loving this.
Well, I just think it's funny. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but like Tears from Heaven, the song that Eric Clapton wrote for his kid who fell off the balcony. Yeah. It's like, we're going to do that for camp. And
instead of Tears in Heaven, it was Timberlake West. And then, of course, there's like the one kid, because that was like the summer that Unplugged cassette came out. So like the one kid who learned how to play it on guitar and was like really good at it. So it's like it's so based funny. Around that.
Speaking of inappropriate camp music choices, at the day camp where we did meet, and Dan, you were a little older, maybe you can shed some light on this, like we have to like do musical reviews every Friday for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And one year I remember we did Grease Lightning, and we learned the words to Grease Lightning, which has some fairly inappropriate lyrics in it, as you guys may recall. I think Grease was really big that summer. I don't know.
That was the summer that we did that. I think that 1 week all the groups did Grease. I sang Summer Lovin'. I was sang the Danny part in Summer Lovin', and I'm about as good a singer as Scott is an athlete. So
I just remember you really have to. We did like the "Whoa, Grease Lightning, burning up" that song, and like you really have to replace some of the lyrics. There's like some extremely explicit lyrics in that song.
I'm sure that you did not say you didn't say "Pussy Wagon."
I forget.
You didn't say "gonna really."
Is.
There's.
I think we did the Chicks Will Scream instead of.
Yeah.
Even
there's
still.
There's something about getting tit is another line.
All right. Yeah.
So a lot of it you can't do for camp.
Yeah.
Kids at camp this year singing WAP. Kids at this. Anyway,
That's basically, although that camp does not exist anymore,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, no camps exist anymore right now, but that's neither here nor there.
There is not even a Yak Online option.
Let's talk Wizard.
So
Indeed.
I'm going to blast through a synopsis, although I have to say this one's a little wordy. And of course, it's not going to cover everything, but I'm going to go through a little synopsis, and then we can talk about all the things that I missed and all the weirdness that happens in between all these words. Okay.
I've got notes. Just so you guys know, I took notes. So
I'm so happy.
There's going to be specific points.
I'm so excited.
I want to hit. Continue.
All right. The Woods family is a family divided, due to reasons we don't find out until the middle of the film. But at the core of the Woods family is Jimmy, the only biological son of Sam and Wendy, and half-brother of Corey and Nick. Jimmy, under the care of his mom and her new husband, has an unknown psychological ailment that leaves him fairly motionless, and silent with few exceptions, one being the word California. After Jimmy's mom and stepdad have him committed to a full-time psychiatric care facility, brother Corey swoops in and busts him out so they can run away and find happiness together as bros and buds. Clearly, the only place Jimmy wants to go is California, so Corey does his best to get him there from their home in Utah. What Corey doesn't expect is that it costs way more than he thinks, and his meager savings won't get them very far. And Jimmy's only possession is his lunchbox that contains only a few small items. That's when they meet Haley, a brassy girl around Corey's age who is wise beyond her years.
Nothing about video games yet. Nothing about video games.
Nope. After Jimmy is seen totally annihilating Ninja Gaiden,
Here we go.
They realize that he has exemplary video game skills, which they can exploit to hustle their way to California together.
I think that's wrong, by the way. I think they see him with Double Dragon. I'm pretty sure the first game you see is Double Dragon.
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
Fine.
That's why I took notes. This is why I took notes.
Okay.
Yes.
But Ninja Gaiden comes up plenty of times.
It does come up. It does come up.
So annihilating Double Dragon. They realize that he has exemplary video skills, blah, 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 blah. So they're going to go off to California together with a stop off in Haley's hometown, the biggest little city, Reno, Nevada. Meanwhile, the psychiatric facility hires Putnam, the bounty hunter for kiddos, who only gets paid if he recovers his target. This doesn't sit well with Jimmy's dad, Sam, who along with his son Nick decide to track down Jimmy and Corey themselves, resulting in a brutal chase between Putnam and the older Woods boys. While on the road, the younger Woods boys, along with Haley, discover Video Game Armageddon, a video game competition in Los Angeles, which becomes their ultimate destination. On their way, they encounter Lucas, another video game whiz who majorly flexes with his brand new Nintendo Power Glove. Feeling intimidated, Jimmy flees before he has a chance to face off with Lucas, or so he thinks. Jimmy, Corey, and Haley make it to Video Game Armageddon just in time to compete. Lucas is there too, as is Putnam, who was tipped off during a chance encounter with Lucas, and he rolls up at the same time as Sam and Nick. Also, Jimmy's mom and her husband somehow find their ways there. Jimmy makes it through round 1 without any problems. During round 2, the final round, Jimmy is set to face off with some girl and Lucas, but Putnam doesn't think that it's such a great idea. He chases Jimmy, Corey, and Haley throughout the Universal Studios theme park, but doesn't do it effectively enough. Jimmy competes in a brand new game, Super Mario Bros. 3, and emerges triumphant. Heading back home with the whole family, Jimmy sees something that stops him in his tracks: the giant dinosaurs in Cabazon, California. He makes everyone stop so he can get out of the car, and he walks inside and up some stairs. Out of his lunchbox, he takes out an old family photo that shows the Woods family at the same dinosaurs: Jimmy, Corey, Nick, Sam, Wendy, and Jimmy's twin sister, Jennifer, who died in a tragic accident. Visiting the dinosaurs and leaving her photo there gives Jimmy closure, and he is cured. It's a bananas movie. I barely talked about video games.
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, yeah. Can you actually reread the first sentence or two? Because actually the first note I took while I was watching the movie was just what a complicated family setup it is, you know? And like the first sentence or two, you're like, Jimmy's half-brother who doesn't live with this anymore. Like you really have to kind of unwind it for a second.
Yeah,
like,
so there's, the kids are Nick, who is Christian Slater, Corey, who's Fred
forgot
Savage.
was in this movie. I'm not sure I've seen this movie since I saw it in theaters, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's Jimmy. Jimmy is the son of Sam, who's played by Beau Bridges, and Wendy, who is played by... No, I'm sorry. Her name is Christine. Her name is Wendy. Wendy Phillips.
She was De Niro's wife in Midnight Run.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Beau Bridges and Wendy Phillips had a kid. We don't know what happened to
they had
the
4
mother.
children.
There were no.
Yes, they had 4 children. Christian Slater, Fred Savage.
They didn't have 4 children.
Yeah.
There is, so we don't know who Corey and Nick's mother is.
What? No, it's
Beau
that
Bridges'
woman, isn't
first.
it?
No.
Really?
No.
Beau Bridges had
it was a complicated setup.
Beau Bridges had Nick and Corey with somebody else.
I have some notes on how complicated
I gotta see
and
the family
ridiculous
tree on this. This is crazy.
But
I am like I was like watching this and I was like, how could a kid possibly understand this? But it turns out even a full-grown adult could process it.
Well, it's kind of like a who cares situation.
Also,
it's just
none of this matters. None of this matters.
It's
the
just
bottom line
like
is there are 4 children in this family: Christian Slater, Fred Savage, the Wizard, and the dead girl. It took me a long time. I remember when I was a kid and I saw this movie, I was like very confused that the Wizard wasn't Fred Savage, who was like the famous person in the movie.
It was the kid from Little Big League.
You would assume, looking at the poster, the Wizard must be Fred Savage or maybe Christian Slater or maybe Jenny Lewis. But
they never actually say who the Wizard is, do they?
He's also wearing a power glove. He's also wearing a power glove on the poster, which
that's true.
He
Fred Savage
touch in the movie. Yeah, Fred Savage in maybe some versions of the poster. Right.
He just likes to wear it sometimes
on the but you know, Power Glove, they wanted to sell that shit. So
I mean, here's what's up with this movie. I mean, the thing that makes this movie unique is that it is a like actually, it's a mostly light but somewhat dramatic road trip movie. Like 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time is a commercial for Nintendo.
Yeah,
and like it's just it's so bizarre that like the movie that I totally makes sense. They decided to make a movie that was like 20% Nintendo commercial. Great decision. Yeah. I still support it, but it's so bizarre that how dramatic the other 80% is. Like, it's so heavy. I mean, the brother has like some like, the brother, it's just very heavy. Like, I guess I don't want to. Does the movie call him autistic? Because actually, the description on HBO does. The description on HBO says
I don't think he is
autistic.
He is not. So what they establish very vaguely and way too late in the movie is that Jennifer drowned in the river. Mm-hmm. Jimmy saw it happen.
Yeah.
So Jimmy's got, this is like a Tommy situation.
It's a PTSD.
Yeah. Jimmy is, PTSD. He's thrown into, and also this is another part of it that just kind of slips right through, is that the Christian Slater character was supposed to be watching them and like passed out or something.
I read there was another hour of this movie that they had to cut, like, and I was like, what would an extra hour of this movie be about?
I think that's necessary exposition.
Yeah, I think they released a Blu-ray that has like all the deleted scenes.
Just the family tree. It's just like explaining.
It's Bob Bridges like,
a slideshow.
You're going to want to sit down for this.
People will pay the extra money for this. That's the Criterion Collection makes it all clear.
That's just the strangest decision. It's just the strangest decision at the very core of this movie is like, why make the road trip piece so dramatic? Where this kid is dealing with at least PTSD. Like, why not make just like, why does the Nintendo movie also have to have this heaviness? Why not just make like a
because otherwise
movie?
it's just a Nintendo movie.
I'm sure you guys can rattle off like 100 good like 80s kind of like kids on a road trip movie, you know? It's
we've covered a lot of them already.
I would do it like I know we're putting the cart before the horse here, but I would do it like a Cannonball Run and just have the different. Yes, sorry, I put the cart before the horse.
No, okay. You put my cart before the horse.
I'm sorry. I put your cart before the horse. So forget I said that, but I wanted to point out another very strange thing. Because when you finally see the picture that he has that shows all 5 of them as a happy family, it looks like it was taken the week before.
I didn't think about that. I guess like that whole scene's a little strange because they arrive at the dinosaurs and the parents are like, what's he doing? And then he has the photo and it's like, remember, we were all here. And it's like, right, none of us thought of that on the way in for some reason. Like, why were they all so surprised that he wanted to stop at the dinosaurs? Like
what are these gigantic dinosaurs?
Yeah, they all
that's right.
Like
we have been to giant dinosaurs
they like
before.
had obviously been there on a vacation or something.
Well, when we were kids, we have family photos at the giant dinosaurs, and of course we talked about it every second afterwards.
Yeah, we have pictures there when we were adults.
That whole scene. I mean, that whole scene. It's so weird that like the video game Armageddon climax happens, and like then you have to get like the Jimmy payoff. You know, the climax of the Jimmy.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. There's weird stuff going on though, because not only is there nobody working in this gift shop up in the dinosaur, but he goes right. Yeah, it's not the other
Christian
thing that
bookstore that it is now, or was 10 years ago
now. Yeah, but they go into that like back section, you know, that you wouldn't think people could just walk into, and if you look, they don't show it. I have no idea what it is, but on the wall behind where Jimmy is sitting, it says there's writing on the wall, and it says I could make out like it had a year, it was 1980 something, Utah, and you could partially see the name Jennifer written. And it's not. Yeah, it's behind him on the wall. I rewound. I paused to look at, and it's almost. It's kind of, I don't know how it could be anything else, but it's never addressed. And like you said, the family doesn't recall this thing that was very significant to this kid.
Yeah.
You know, very little to no recollection of it. And yeah, there's just all these weird things strewn about that are
there's not
unexplained.
Only, so aside from that, there's also Haley's backstory, Jenny Lewis's character, which is like she has this like vacant mother and like no father figure, and she's off on her own.
The opposite, right? The opposite. She has a father figure but no mother, or is that wrong?
I think she says that she has the
mother skipped town.
The mother skipped town? I don't remember.
The mother was a dancer. The father's a trucker.
Yeah,
And the mother's split, and the dad's we know that that's true because
Another heavy backstory.
And right, exactly. But she's like friendly with the other truck drivers.
Skippy, Slappy, Spanky.
There's a Slappy.
Spanky.
Yeah, there's like
Spanky.
Did you guys ever see one of my favorite movies, Premium Rush? In Premium Rush, there's kind of like a code of like the bike delivery men. It kind of reminded me of that, where like all the truckers have this just like network where they all look out for each other at all times.
I haven't seen Premium Rush, but it seems like a really bananas movie. A very
Premium
specific
Rush
movie.
Rules. I love it. It's great. It's like 90 minutes flat. I highly recommend it. It's like it's a perfect quarantine watch.
I mean, I'm a big Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan, so
it's his best role. I mean, it's his best starring role for sure. Yeah, the movie is just so. It's just the whole thing is I like why the decision to make it this way is just so strange, and like everything about it.
It was supposed to be a Tommy for younger audiences.
So can you guys remind me what the plot of Tommy is? Like I know the music, but I honestly don't know what like the plot of Tommy is.
So yeah, and it's kind of like the plot on the concept album was modified a little bit for the movie, and then it was modified again for the musical. So I'm gonna go with the musical.
Okay.
Which because Pete Townsend I think had a little bit more of a hand in adapting that. So it starts off, you've got a couple in Britain during, in the late 30s, early 40s, the Walkers. Captain Walker is an Air Force pilot, and he gets shot down in enemy territory during World War II, and they think he's not going to come back. So meanwhile, there's this guy Uncle Ernie who's been hanging around, and like in the movie he becomes Tommy's stepfather. In the play, he doesn't, because Captain Walker is released and comes home from war. In the movie version, which Alan Parker, I think, directed that. Captain Walker shows up in the middle of the night, comes home from war, and Uncle Ernie kills him. In the musical, it's the reverse. Captain Walker comes home. Oh no, it's not, and it's not Uncle Ernie that he finds there. It's some other guy that the mother the mother marries because she thinks her husband's dead. So it's not really the plot
of this movie. That's what I'm hearing.
So Tommy witnesses.
This is all in the first 5 to 10 minutes that you find all this out. But then Tommy witnesses this.
You found a way to explain the first 5 or 10 minutes in 15 minutes.
Well, no, I was because I was talking about the differences with the movie and the musical. But the Tommy sees it and immediately withdraws. He only looks at himself in mirrors, and the kid is amazing at pinball. So he becomes really famous based on pinball. He's still, they call him the deaf, dumb, and blind boy, but he wins all these pinball tournaments and competitions, and then he finally breaks out of the shell, and he's like, oh my god, being a celebrity sucks because everyone wants a piece of me, and he eventually reconciles with his parents and Uncle Ernie, who molests him as a child. There's a whole part where he's tormented by his sadistic cousin. So I'm going to come back to Tommy, but it's a great musical.
So there is a kid who has experienced trauma, I guess, who is, I don't know, somehow, but and is skilled at some game. But does he enter a competition for the game, or is it just pinball, a metaphor or something?
Pinball Armageddon. He plays the Super Mario Brothers 3 pinball game.
They have to get to Reno.
Well, I mean, you've heard the song Pinball Wizard before.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tom. I mean, that the character Tommy doesn't sing that, but
it's not like this movie. There's no competition they're trying to get to this movie.
No, there's not one singular end of the road goal.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Other than Tommy's emotional and mental well-being.
Right.
Okay. So
yeah, there's no pinball.
Is there a Cabazon, California moment?
I do think
dinosaurs.
the Wizard, the title, is intentionally evoking Pinball Wizard. I just don't really know what they're getting at with it. One thing about the California thing on the way home is, help me understand the geography of this movie. They're from Utah, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they take a road trip to get to Vegas. Or no, where is Video Game Armageddon?
LA.
It's in LA.
Oh, it's in LA? Okay, then that's how they get there. Okay. Never mind. That part checks out. That part squares. That part makes sense.
Yeah. So they're pretty much just doing a a straight line. What's confusing is how Putnam and then Sam and Nick are able to find them with like nothing aside from just like little vague clues along the way.
Well, they get a big break where I think they see a kid wearing his hat.
Right.
And
that's a big one.
They like ask the kid where they're going, and they're like, he's going to Video Game Armageddon. It's like, that's it. Then they find him from there.
He doesn't tell them at Video Game Armageddon. I think that's when they find Lucas by pure coincidence. They are in a place. Is he in the same place when they find the hat? He's like, I know where those guys. I know
he's
where
like
those kids
sitting
are
on a stool at the counter. Yeah.
Is that the diner where Beth Grant works from the Joel Schumacher cinematic universe?
I don't know.
The very same.
Probably.
Beth Grant. Yeah, she's in all the Joel Schumacher. Anyway,
I have a great piece of trivia on the guy who's the creepy guy who's looking for the kids. What do you call him?
Putnam.
So I'm like, who is this weirdo? Because this movie actually, before I talk about Putnam, this movie is actually very well acted. And like Fred Savage was an incredible actor. Like he's so charming.
He goes for it.
Jenny Lewis is great.
Well, she's great.
Christian Slater's great. Like it's actually a pretty well acted movie. And like
Christian Slater and Beau Bridges have great chemistry too.
They don't have a lot to do or anything, but they like acquit themselves fine. Like it's like totally fine. But Fred Savage and Jenny Lewis, I thought were like great in what is obviously not a terrific movie. And the Wizard Kid is also good in what is like not could be a much
Luke Edwards
worse thing.
Yeah.
But Putnam is. I'm like, who is this guy? And I looked him up, and that guy, I don't remember his name. But He's apparently was George Lucas's second choice to play Luke Skywalker behind Mark Hamill.
Really?
Yeah, can you imagine that guy as Luke Skywalker? That guy was the second choice.
Does he still wear a bolo tie on Tatooine? Anyway.
Yeah, he is less terrific. He's like a little bit in a different movie because he's like the bad guy from like a regular Disney movie, like where there'd be like a big flop sweaty villain who's like, I'm gonna get those kids. But like the movie's actually like a little more serious than that in a weird way. So he like kind of doesn't fit.
And there's that moment, and I know this was like over 20 years ago or over 30 years ago, but there's that moment when he just he like picks Jimmy up and he looks creepy anyway. Like he looks like creepy. A pedophile. But no one really does anything. But then when she's like, he touched my breast.
Right. That's a funny joke. I actually laughed at that. So they're like, so the bounty hunter has finally tracked them down, and he's like finds Jimmy, and he's like, the bounty hunter is like winning, and then Jenny Lewis, who's like a 13-year-old girl in this movie, just yells, he touched my breast. But I think I don't know, just like it caught me off guard, and I kind of laughed at it. It's a little weird.
She nails the delivery.
She does nail it. She's getting the whole movie. And then it's just like a weird cartoon logic thing happens where the cops like ask no questions of anyone, but they stop arresting. They like just arrest him and like leave the scene without like taking any notes, like, which is good. They really believe her in that moment, which I guess is encouraging. But it's like, it's just like they exit's a little clean.
I don't know how much this facility is planning to pay him, but it doesn't feel like it's worth it with all the stuff that he ends up going through.
Yeah, I mean, definitely incentivizing him to find a child, and like he only gets paid if he finds the child, feels like almost certainly not how actual child hunters work.
Yeah. And I mean, it starts off with Beau Bridges fucking up his car.
That's his thing. He finds runaway kids. Well, he fucks up Beau Bridges' car. He punctures Beau Bridges' tire.
Yeah, I know, but then as a result, Beau Bridges takes a shovel to his entire car. So it's like already to fix that's probably gonna set him back a little bit.
It's definitely weird that they're like adults damaging each other's cars. It's like,
they're going full on at each other. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and especially the character of Putnam is definitely cartoonish,
right?
And a lot of those sequences are very cartoonish. Like no one's smashing up their cars like that and driving halfway across the country.
No, not at all.
I got one more actor I want to shout out, which is, and you guys are just gonna have to give me 30 seconds for this. But please. The guy he's the host of the Universal Studios tour. I don't think it's actually Universal Studios. I think it's something else.
It's Universal Studios.
So there's a host, and he gets a Pee Wee Herman joke in where he says he's like, this is where they're shooting their new movie with like Pee Wee Herman and Zsa Zsa Gabor as the romantic leads.
Yeah.
Hey,
Headliner's next motion picture, Mayhem in Monte Carlo, starring Zsa Zsa Gabor and Pee Wee Herman in the romantic leads.
And it's like kind of from that, I guess, that weird period where people thought Pee Wee was like a real person or something. It would just star in. But anyway, that guy is let me tell you, I recognize him just like this. His name is Jim Perry. He is the bike safety counselor in a little video called Bike Safety Camp that I have a lifelong obsession with.
Way.
Go on YouTube, look up Bike Safety Camp, and just watch any minute or two of it, but especially the last 30 seconds. It's like this old video about bike safety, and that guy's the bike safety
Jeff,
counselor.
I'm gonna play a clip from it, just the audio from it right now. Which clip should I play right now?
That's a good question. I mean, probably something towards the end. There's like a summary.
The end, or
there's
Sam
a part where he
Sprockett's
dances, which would be bad radio, but like right before that, they kind of summarize everything in a dance and a rap a little bit.
So you all learned the rules, and camp is done. See, it wasn't boring. Bike safety is fun.
We all rolled down the road with the grace of ease, without risking our lives, without skidding our knees.
From now on, that's the way. Yeah, ride safe every day. Take the bikes, they're for you. But whatever you do, always follow the rules of Sam's Bike Safety School.
And the name is Sam Sprocket, right?
Yeah, he plays Sam Sprocket. He's in Bicycle Safety Camp. This dude kills it in this like terrible bike safety camp video that looks like it's like a local production. But this guy's like, he does this dance at the end that is incredible. Like I love this guy so much. And this is just his bit roll. And I was like, Sam Sprocket. I got so excited when I saw him. I
can't believe that's Sam Sprocket.
He's so good in this.
He gets a laugh. He tells a joke. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I have he's one of the 3 actors that I really wanted to shout out in that whole, and also just to say, like, the reason why I was like, that is actually Universal Studios is because that King Kong ride is very familiar from our.
They're not going to set that up just for,
well, it's Universal Studios.
He says some weird thing about like the he doesn't say Universal Studios. He's like the new McGovern Studios. Like there's like a weird.
Oh, really?
Fictional, it does not matter.
No. Yeah. Oh, no. He says it's the director. He's talking about the news, remote. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Glad we cleared that up with Wizard fans. Before we get inundated with hate mail from Wizard fans.
Bring it on. RuinedChildhoodSpot@gmail.com.
We do have to loan we talked about the percentage, like 20% Nintendo ad. There's at least 5% Universal Studios Hollywood ad.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at it, I thought that tour guide was amazing. I thought that Charlie Chaplin looked more like Alfred Molina. And I thought the guy who did the check-ins for Video Game Armageddon.
Oh, I looked him up too. Oh, the guy who did the check-ins or the
enthusiastic.
host?
I love them both. The guy who does the check-ins is Lee Arenberg, who was recently in Once Upon a Time. He was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Anyway.
Right.
Move it, kid. Hi, we're here to register.
Good.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy Woods.
What? Jimmy Woods.
What game is it? What game are they playing?
Well, for the prelims, we're playing Ninja Gaiden. Hey!
He knows Ninja Gaiden. We're in. It's great.
You're in. Fantastic. Pin this to his back and hustle it on in there. You're blowing it. You're late. Move it.
Let me tell you, my headcanon was that Jim Perry, who is the guy I'm talking about from Bike Safety Camp, he auditioned to play the host, which he would have killed, by the way.
Totally.
But this other guy got it, and they were like, well, we got this other guy. He tells a joke. Why don't you be the tour guide instead? Because the guy who is the host of Video Game Armageddon is also a pretty good performance. And I looked him up, and he's like in a ton of horror movies. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because he's like kind of like brawn, just like has like a distinct look about him. And I was like, yeah, I can totally see this guy's like a maniac ripping out someone's organs or something.
As the clock winds down, who will survive as we have 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a new winner, number 169.
Number 169 is who we gotta beat. Whoever it is, they're good. It's Lucas.
The final elimination round of Video Armageddon.
All right, last and final round. Come up here, my little beauties.
I was like inspired by their energy. They were
it was good.
The also Video Game Armageddon, it's only 2 rounds. That's a big to-do.
So far, we've only discussed the non-video game elements of this movie.
We discussed the death of a child.
I'd like to really get into the Nintendo bits as a separate matter. But that's what's so weird about it. Is it really is like 2 things fused together.
So the reason why we asked you to come on, and we would have wanted you to come on for something eventually, so it just makes sense for it to be this one. But like, you had all the video game systems. Like, you were the house to go to.
I just compared to us. You guys just didn't have any video game systems, but I just had a Nintendo. I just had a Nintendo, which was like that's all you needed back then.
That's all you needed.
We all played Nintendo at your house.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it, and I was like into it, and it was like part of my identity, and it still is, I guess. And it was like my thing or whatever. And that is part of why. Well, that's the thing, and that is why I saw this movie in theaters, which I pretty clearly remember,
right?
And I'm sure that's why. I'm sure I wasn't like, I want to see that Fred Savage road trip movie, and this movie just would be completely forgot if it wasn't for all the Nintendo elements. Like the Nintendo thing is what makes it unique.
Well, there's the great montage of Jenny Lewis calling Nintendo Power's like tip line.
Here you go, updates.
Nintendo game playing. This is Rick. How can I help you?
Hi, my name is Haley, and I've got a wizard who's going all the way to the championships in Los Angeles.
Is that so?
All I need is a little help. Okay, let's start with Simon's Quest.
Okay, now where exactly are you in the game?
Oh, I've interviewed a Nintendo Power tip line counselor on my podcast. I had someone who was.
We'll put a link to that episode in our description.
That's a really good one. Yeah, so that's like kind of what I enjoyed about this movie, actually, and what makes it an interesting relic. And kind of what I remember about it is like, it's really one of the first movies I can think of where like playing video games is like a normal thing people do. And it's like obviously like centered. It's not like really what playing video games is like or anything, but it's like in the movie, there's actually one scene where like the adults are playing video games at lunch and then like they kind of hustle them. It's just like a movie where like people were playing and enjoying video games on screen. And like, at the time, like I feel like if you ever saw it, it was like a nerd in the corner or whatever, and like
or a kid at a trailer
sort
park.
Of like one of the first sort of mainstream incursions of like video game culture into like something that's mainstream, and that's I don't know. So I appreciated that about it, and like I thought it was a weird artifact in that way, even though it's like not a very good movie, but I did.
But that's actually that. But that's part of the subplot too, is how Beau Bridges starts out being a video game naysayer.
That's right.
And he spends all night playing Ninja Turtles.
It's so funny. I mean, video games, it's so funny how far they've come in. How old is this movie? 30 years, I guess. Is that right? And I mean, it's like they just bring a Nintendo everywhere, and Christian Slater like plugs it in. And he starts playing Ninja Turtles in like the hotel room. Guys, if you don't know, Ninja Turtles on Nintendo is a hard fucking game. It is so hard, and like
keep Beau Bridges up at night.
The idea that you're just like in a hotel, you're just like, I'm going to start playing this really hard game that like it's just like so funny how you used to have to like, wouldn't be continuing your save. It's just like, you're just playing
I think
Ninja
the
Turtles.
story with that was that Christian Slater found his brother's Nintendo like in the back of the truck, and it was like broken, but he fixed it.
And then he fixes it.
Yeah.
And then
so they just
which I thought was going to be a thing that he can fix things. I thought that was going to be like relevant to the plot later. Not at all.
In the full version.
Maybe just that's what the other hour is about.
Yeah, it's about how he's just really good at fixing shit.
So I mean, here's
it's
what
part of the metaphor.
A lot of there are different they're not all first-party Nintendo games. It's not like Mario, Metroid. Yeah. Metroid's not even in it. Zelda is not in it, though. They mention Zelda and Link. But it's like you see, let's see, Double Dragon is, Jesus, I don't even know. The first one, I don't know, Trade Westers, Tatos or something. It's a Japanese company. But then you got
Konami.
Is it Konami? Maybe. They definitely mentioned Simon's Quest, which is Konami, and Contra they show is Konami as well. But there's some non-Konami games as well. What else is in there? Boy, I just started listening. I'm like, I was going to know them all, and then I totally froze. What else do they play?
While you're thinking of that, I should also mention that like I checked the 1989 Nintendo Power magazines, and none of them mention the Wizard. Like, you think that they would be promoting the Wizard, but I looked and
wait, wasn't there? I'm sorry to interrupt, John. Wasn't there? And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, because I seem to remember you having this, like a mini version of Nintendo Power that they gave out at theaters when you saw the Wizard.
I do not remember that. It's very possible. I don't remember that.
In my Google searches, I couldn't find anything like that.
In the movie, she pointedly says, I got all these Power magazines, and I know I thought it was weird she didn't say Nintendo Power. Like she says,
well,
Power
if you're on
magazine.
the inside, you just call them
Ninja
Power.
Gaiden is one they feature. Who made Ninja
Right.
Gaiden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about. I noticed they say, I was actually impressed. They said Ninja Gaiden, which I believe is the correct pronunciation.
I feel like some characters say Gaiden, some say Gaiden.
And there's one scene where Jenny Lewis like kind of overpronounces it, and she's like,
You know it's
Ninja
Ninja
Gaiden,
Gaiden.
you know? And I was like, I just like had someone on set to like, you know, like be like, by the way, it's not Gaiden. And like, you know, really.
So, well, just going back to the Nintendo Power thing, like I
guess they are all Konami games. Like the non-Nintendo ones are, I think, Konami games. You might be right.
Rampage. Contra. I'm sorry. Double Dragon. I just looked up. It says Trade West.
I did say Trade West.
Yeah, Trade West. Not Konami
at this point.
Right. So the Nintendo Power magazines, there's a resource online that doesn't have like all of them, like all the pages cataloged, but it says like what's in each section. And they definitely have a feature on Batman, the movie. And they definitely talk about a lot of the other like, you know, TV show tie-ins, like the Ninja Turtles game and stuff like that. But like, I didn't see anything that mentioned the Wizard, which was
looking
just
at old Nintendo Power
surprising.
scans is like one of the best highs I can get. Like the nostalgia I feel when I look at that, because I used to study those so
just
deeply.
Going back to like what we were talking about at the beginning, it's like we met at this because we were all going to the same summer camp and we carpooled together. That's how we like initially started hanging out. And you're, you know, in the back of your mom's car, always a Nintendo Power.
Yeah, because I was reading. I mean, I'm an only child, so I was just like reading my Nintendo Powers in the back of the car. Like there's not an image from the Nintendo Powers of my youth that you could show me that wouldn't like tickle the nostalgia part of my brain. Like I saw every issue, like every corner, every like screenshot, really like poured over and studied, which is how I definitely saw this movie. And so here's the other thing about this movie that like you really got to talk about when you talk about this movie is it is the debut of Super Mario Brothers 3 in the US. People in the US had not seen this. So this is kind of, you couldn't do this now. The reason it worked, and I never understood this, I just like Wikipedia'd it while I was watching the movie, is because Mario Brothers 3 came out in Japan a year before it came out in the US.
Yeah.
So the game was like done. And like they wouldn't do that now. Like they'd release them the same month, if not the same day or whatever, you know? And this part of the movie, like seeing Mario Brothers 3 for the first time was a huge deal. Like, you know, like to say the least, this predates like YouTube trailers and that sort of thing. So the idea that you were just going to see like I mean, you were in a lot of ways sitting through this like boring road trip movie to see like a minute or two of Mario 3 footage, and it was worth it. Like I remember I came out of that and I wasn't like, oh my God, it was so exciting when they got caught up with the truckers. I was like, Mario 3 is insane. I must have Mario 3. And it doesn't hurt that like the thing that they're hyping up so much is like Mario 3 is arguably still the best video game of all time. Like it's like still
it's great.
Very possibly the single best game of all time. Like even Mario 1 and 2, which are great, like Mario 3 is the one where like the formula that they still follow today like really locks in. And
well, it becomes a little less like linear where, you know, different things can happen. And that's something that comes up in the movie that makes me wonder, like, how does Haley know that there are warps?
It's
like,
so strange. Yeah,
If it's so new, then
I was just picturing them telling Jenny Lewis, like there's one scene where like, the turtle hit him with his boomerang. It's just been like, all right, Fred, here's what's going on in this scene. You know, it's just like,
just
like,
roll with it.
You just gotta, yeah. But like, I still watching this today, like kind of got chills when he was like, they're going to play a game you've never seen before. Like I still got kind of excited. And
it's a fun movie to watch.
I was thinking about it, Jeff, from the perspective of from your perspective, seeing it being so, you know, into Nintendo and really studying it. And this is before, you know, like you said, you can't go on YouTube and watch a trailer. You can't go online and see screenshots somewhere. You're seeing Super Mario 3. You're seeing footage from it for the first time on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, that feels like as a huge video game fan to go see it and see it blown up beyond your television screen.
I'm sure I saw this movie in theaters, and 100% of my memory of seeing it is Mario Brothers 3 is in it. Like that is the only thing I remember about the movie. Like since then, I've seen the Power Glove scene on YouTube, which is we didn't discuss, and we should discuss.
Oh my God, yeah, we have barely talked about Lucas.
It probably is the single craziest like it is the kind of, I'm sure it's probably the scene that has the most views on YouTube, let's say, you know, because it is truly, it's really something.
So what happens is
bad.
while they're hustling kids in like the diners and stuff, some of the kids are just like, he's good, but he's not nearly as good as Lucas. And they're just like, who's this Lucas guy? And like they send them like to his house. And he's just kind of there, and he's like, I've got all like 97 Nintendo games. And
that is weird when he says that. It's like, okay.
And then he...
how's Abadox, bro? Is Abadox any good?
So, you the wizard?
No, he is.
This guy? I don't get it. Is he like a poster child for someone?
For your information, butthead, he's headed for the video championships in Los Angeles.
Is that right? Well, let's just see how good he is then. Guys? Pick any game you want. I'm good at all of them. I have 97 of them.
You know all 97 of them? What is that? I don't know.
Power glove.
Jeez.
I love the power glove. It's so bad.
So then he puts on the power glove, which makes it seem so cool and like something that actually works, which from what I remember, like doesn't really work all that well. I don't know. You didn't have that one, did you?
I've never touched a power glove. You know, I've never touched a power glove. I didn't have that many games, but my parents were pretty good about letting me like rent one every weekend at Blockbuster.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was like always, and even still with games, that's what I love is like kind of sampling them all and like trying them all and seeing what their deal is. And so I was just, that's probably, I didn't like have, like, I never had any like crazy kind of Nintendo gear. I've still to this day never touched a power glove. And I've, through college humor, actually played with a lot of weird Nintendo equipment.
yeah.
Like I had a Robbie the Robot and stuff. And the Zapper, obviously, but I actually watching this movie made me think like, boy, I'd love to like see a power glove in real life. Let me just quickly look on eBay, and it was like $150.
They're like $90.
I was like, way too much, way too. I don't know what my number was, but it was way below that because like I was kind of just curious. It is kind of weird. I should see one. Like I would like to play with one. I would. But yeah, that game they're playing, it's like I've never heard of that game. I think it
the one that Lucas plays.
Yeah, it's F1 Dream. It's like must be one of like the 3 games that supports the power glove or something.
Right. But the way like, he's just like steering
they take
air
the power
wheel.
glove out like it's like Thor's hammer or something, you know? It's like this like tool that like gives him an edge. It's so funny that he has 97 games. There's just like not that many good Nintendo games. It's like, yeah, you ever play Clue Clue Land? And they're like, what? What's Clue Clue Land? And he's like, it's fucking awesome. Put it on. He's like, I don't know, man. Seems kind of lame.
All right. So Lucas, who is played by Jackey Vinson. Dan, do you want to tell everyone
who is that?
What happened with this guy?
Well, Jackey Vinson ended up becoming a sex offender. He is a registered sex offender in the state of New York. He was convicted in 2004 of sexual two counts, 2 acts or more of sexual misconduct against a child, and I believe if I'm reading this coding properly, it is a child under the age of 11.
So not a good guy.
Fun
on screen
trivia.
and off. Yeah.
I've heard he's been trying to like rehab his image on Twitter, but I couldn't find him, and I really didn't.
His image as the bully in The Wizard.
Hey guys, it's me, the people that everybody hate from the movie that everybody now loves for some reason.
Don't Google me.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
I've done worse things than put on a Power Glove.
Yeah.
How did he get those kids into the van?
But, one thing that this movie is kind of known for now is the very first on-screen appearance by his little crony, Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah. I missed
just what he's not even his hometown crony.
No.
He's just kind of hanging out at Armageddon in LA. Yeah.
So
and there he is.
Yeah. It's just like it's so funny to imagine this movie without the Nintendo business. Like, was it like a regular script that like some aspiring screenwriter sold, and then they were like, hey, you know that thing you got? It's really good. Here's the deal. It's now about a video game tournament. Can you get that done by the weekend?
Just real quick, one of the other, I guess, like uncredited cameos in this, which I don't even know if you'd call it a cameo because like nobody knew who this was, but like, I guess one of Corey's friends, like he has a friend at one point, maybe it's in a deleted scene or something, but it's Dante Bosco, the kid who plays Rufio in Hook.
Oh, cool.
What?
So that's a thing. But I don't remember him having any friends, so I'm just like, where did that come in?
Deleted scene.
I guess
it's
so.
Crazy. There's a 2.5 hour scene, and if it was all about that extra hour, if it was all about video games, that would have been thrilling for me. There's there's still not like a lot of movies about people who play video games, which makes sense. Like, I guess it's hard to depict and make exciting or whatever. But
right. So you have the last Starfighter, which
there's a lot of documentaries. King of Kong.
Well, documentaries
inspired by King of Kong, but like. What I'm trying to think, like narrative, like Pixels, I guess. Like, there's not like a lot of movies about just like people who play video games.
I guess the movie where Josh Gad has kids with Q*bert?
That's the one. Yes.
Hey kids, Daddy's home.
That's Pixels. Okay. Spoiler alert. Jeez. All right.
No one cares.
Yeah, I'm trying to think anything else that's really about the playing of video games. Yeah,
Jumanji, the new Jumanji.
And right,
but
that's
Jumanji.
less. Yeah, but that's less about like sitting in front of a TV screen and like holding a controller.
I guess there's that Ryan Reynolds movie that was supposed to come out this summer, I think, and has been delayed, obviously, called, I want to say Free Guy. That looked like it was about someone stuck in a video game.
Stuck in a video game.
To be about sort of like playing. But anyway, like this is, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself with the reboot thing here, but it's just kind of crazy that like no one has made a movie about a kid who is good at video games. Like that seems like a juicy topic, and like I guess I haven't seen anyone except this incredibly singular, bizarre movie do a take on it.
Well, there's also the movie Gamer.
Gamer
Michael C. Hall.
Oh yeah, I've seen
where
Gamer.
He is Gerard Butler.
It's a Neville Dean and Hall movie. Those guys who made Crank 2, which I guess they made Crank 1, but I love Crank 2 very much. And I've seen Gamer. It's like a post-apocalyptic thing. There's
it's
I don't
weird.
know. Gamer's
I watched
more like
it and I was
Running Man.
like, this is not good.
It's kind of like where like the Running Man, but where he's controlled by someone remotely.
I think so. I honestly
he's
don't
something
remember.
like video game.
It's definitely not
character.
about a kid who's good at video games,
No.
which is what most movies should be about. If I was in charge when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's interesting though. You're right. Like there haven't been a lot. And now, even though like the video game world, I feel, and I say this as mostly an outsider, but it seems more fragmented because the arcade is kind of a thing of the past.
Oh yeah, like 96 games. I have like 96 games on my phone, and like I paid like $4 for some of them or whatever. You know, it's like, there are more games. I don't know. There are more games. The other thing is there are more game tournaments. Like Video Game Armageddon is like obviously not a real event. I guess there was like a Nintendo World Championship that I think was like largely Nintendo marketing. It wasn't like a serious sports pro league, at least as I understand it. If it was, I got to get them on my podcast. But this movie, like now there's like, I mean, every, once in normal times, but even now there's like a major video game tournament every week. But it isn't within the same, like, I don't know, half dozen games, most of them, I would think.
Well, and this is where I guess like the current climate with COVID comes in, because I remember back in the spring, I was talking to a colleague of mine, fellow teacher at the school who said that he had been having a hard time getting one of his students to do work. And the kid was like, I'm making like, I don't know, $1,000 a week playing video. Like he was just doing, he was
Cool.
like recording, doing like
or something.
Oh my God.
He was just doing that.
Wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I would have been so into it. There'd be so much embarrassing like footage of me. I'd be so canceled right now.
Yeah, you'd have enough money to deal with it. But I mean, from what these kids, and this is not the first time I've heard of, you know, a high school kid or even a middle school kid actually making a lot of money playing video games. Now, they don't have to drive cross country, but
when I was a kid, The Far Side's a great comic and Gary Larson's great, but but when I was a kid, there was a comic, a Far Side, of this kid playing video games and his parents are kind of looking at him and like dreaming of the want ad page, like the want ads and like the jobs that he will have as video game, like princess needs saving or whatever. And it's kind of like a joke about how like there's no job or whatever when you get video games and it's like kind of a waste of time. Like they're kind of proudly looking on, like imagining the jobs the kid's going to get. And when this comic came out, because Nintendo was like a major part of my identity, like we got like all of my parents' friends. We got so many copies of this. Keep in mind, this is like 1991. This is not like you copy and paste it and send it in a fucking text. You got to cut it out of the goddamn newspaper. You got to find a fucking Xerox machine. We had like a laminated copy of it. Like, do you know how hard it was to like send someone a comic at that time? We had so many copies. I mean, like everyone gave my family one of them. It was very embarrassing. I really hated it.
Well, this is the second episode where we've discussed issues we've had with Far Side comic strips, the other one being Ishtar.
Oh, yeah.
So Gary Larson, we love you, but you can't keep coming up on the show.
He was awful. Look, I'm just saying Gary Larson missed on this one. Turns out being now.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah. And the caption, I just looked it up because I forgot. The caption is hopeful parents.
Oh.
It's like better than I described. Obviously, it's better than I described it. The Far Side is good and it's just like a totally solid hit or whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
So, Jeff, if you were tasked with bringing this movie into the 2020, maybe without the whole pandemic situation, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can just make, I mean, like, it actually almost makes sense. It is rebootable, to be honest, because one, the original is not terrific, but the name is remembered, and it's kind of like fondly remembered in an odd way. You'd lose a lot of the power because it's completely impossible to like premiere a video game thing within a film now. I like don't think that makes sense, but I guess like I think there is probably like to make a movie about like a kid who's good at video games and like has to go across the country on a road trip to like participate in tournaments, like a no-brainer. It seems like such a obvious movie to me. I think you just make it like a fun road trip movie, like lose all the heaviness. And it's like a legacy quill where like, you know, they see Lucas's Lucas, maybe it's like a Cobra Kai thing. And like Lucas is like, oh yeah, like, well, I guess it's not Lucas now that I know more about that actor. All right, forget it.
You see his mugshot. That's
maybe
what
there's
you
like an oblique reference where they visit the dinosaurs thing. Yeah. And they find a lunch pail that says like Jennifer on it. And they're like, what's this? And then I was like, oh, and they just like throw it in the garbage and continue on it. But it ties it to the continuity of the original film.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, it's full of dumb pictures or something. And it's like throw it in the garbage, burn it.
So Dan, you mentioned something earlier. Do you mind?
John, go ahead.
All right. So the idea that I had was that in this universe, you know, it's been like 30 some odd years since this video game Armageddon, and now it's just like never been bigger. Clearly now there are a lot more video game competitions, but like Video Game Armageddon is like the one to go to. And there's like the legend of Jimmy the Wizard Woods. And like there's like everybody knows the story about how he had to get there. And then there's like a superstition and like a tradition that like people competing try to like go on the same like route that he went on, like from Utah through Reno, and people try to do it the same way that he did it with like, you know, of course, no cell phones, and you know, you only have like $24 to start, and you've got to find your way there with like biker gangs and truckers. Christian Slater's in it. He's there. You have a guy chasing you.
Just have to find him and grab him. Yeah.
So what I wrote in my notes, Dan, was basically tween Cannonball Run, where it's just like you have these people who set off and you only have like, you know, a week and a half to get there or something, but you have to like figure it all out on your own.
You know what? Maybe that's a good idea. And you should cleave. This movie is 2 movies, right? It's like video game movie and road trip movie. You should cleave those in 2. One movie, you do Tween Cannonball Run. That's a great idea for a movie. Movie 2 is like a movie about a kid who's good at video games. It's like Karate Kid, but for video games. That's it. Those are 2 hit movies we just made.
I think I read somewhere that it was like the people looked at it when they were making it as being like a Karate Kid for video games. And it's
I bet like totally Karate Kid for Blank was like an extremely popular screenplay pitch in the 80s.
Totally. And then I just had some thoughts about like, you know, if there was to be any kind of like remake, who would be who? And for Putnam, the only person I could think of was Toby Huss.
I mean, Toby Huss is great.
Already the strongest man on earth from The Adventures of Pete and Pete. He's been in everything.
Did you watch Halt and Catch Fire? Yeah.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine was a creator on that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Chris Rogers. Yeah. So, he's great on Halt and Catch Fire.
Yes, totally.
Putnam was the only recasting choice that I made.
Yeah, same here.
Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino. I would love to see Quentin, because now he's going to direct one more movie, and I would love to see him just go back to like doing like little acting roles and just have fun. And Quentin Tarantino as Putnam, but
frankly, I'm not sure you could just cut Putnam from the movie. There's like, because like there's like 4 antagonists, and like honestly, you don't need any of them.
What if you just have a spin-off movie that's just Putnam, and it's this guy who's this like miserable guy whose job is finding kids, and he's like a scumbag.
We need like a prequel. What led him to that?
Yeah, I'm not so interested in your creepy Putnam movie, but
we could get Jackey Vinson. It could be his comeback role.
Oh, geez. No, thank you.
Yikes. Yeah. No,
I had one more idea. And this is based off of their experiences in Reno. Kid Casino.
Oh, very funny that there's like a casino with like a kid's arcade next to it. You know,
super
like
weird.
That's like definitely not.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? I looked up the Ebert review of this movie because sometimes, like when I watch a movie that's old enough that he was alive, I like to look up like the contemporaneous review. And here's what he wrote. I love this quote. The plot of the movie involves the youngest kid's desire to walk to California. His brother decides to help. His brother decides to help him do it. And along the way, he reveals a talent in video games that allows them to support themselves and suggests a goal of the world championship. Those are the only headlines. A full plot description would make this movie sound like a nasty pile-up. Fuck, I fucked it up. A full description would make this movie sound like a nasty pile-up down at the screenplay factory.
Oh my God.
A nasty pile-up down at the screenplay factory. That's great.
When Ebert was good and funny, he was really good and funny.
He's totally right. There's like a lot of business in this movie. Yeah. There's also like the dad who wants to institutionalize Jimmy. I looked him up. He's like Neil Schweibert on Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks, yeah.
Which is like a pretty small part. Like he's on like, I don't know, 6 episodes of Freaks and Geeks or whatever, but he's so memorable. Like everyone on that show.
He's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, you know what it made me think of? Because I didn't really have like a remake, reboot. I was like, yeah, what do you do with this again? And it's kind of like, it's a product of its time, but it made me think about adaptations of musicals and how Tommy, the Broadway musical, which I really loved, I thought was great. Why not just make the Tommy musical?
Update Tommy?
Make him. I mean, well, because musical theater and musical movies are, you know, like everyone watched Hamilton and like Rocket Man was. In fact, that's who I would want to direct it. Would be whoever the director of Rocket Man, whose name I am not looking at the moment and don't remember. But I thought Rocket Man had that kind of energy that I would love to see like Tommy the musical.
Dexter Fletcher.
Dexter Fletcher. Thank you.
I got really nervous that I was looking at the Rocket Man with like French Stewart, but then I was like, oh no, it's the right one. Okay.
I could see this movie being like randomly remade as like a Broadway musical. It's just like, what? That's The Wizard is a Broadway musical. The only problem is that it's so much of its power is in the Nintendo stuff, and Nintendo would like not touch this with like a 10-foot pole.
Right, totally. But what's also interesting is like right now Nintendo's really popular because of the Switch and Animal Crossing, which is like everybody's favorite quarantine game.
I think Nintendo does not. It's kind of funny. Like Nintendo's done a lot of like nasal gazing and like navel gazing. I'm not even sure I'm using it correctly.
Navel gazing.
Now that I said it, I'm not sure I'm using it correctly. It's like, but like they do a lot of like kind of putting their own history into games and doing like references to other Nintendo stuff. And they've never done a reference to this. Like I feel like you could do like a kind of like in a description in a Smash Brothers or something.
Yeah, I think it just kind of like shat the bed and they're just like, oh, we'll just erase that from our history.
I don't even know. Like, I think it's kind of fondly remembered, even though it's obviously not a very good movie.
Right. It's not looked at as a good movie,
it's like
but it's
not a good movie.
It is considered a cult classic.
It's nostalgia, though. It's the nostalgia
completely
factor.
remember seeing it. I'm sure I was thrilled with it when I was a kid, and I completely remember seeing it as a kid. And it's just like, but like, honestly, if they were just like, parents, we're charging $15, or how much was the movie then? Like, let's say $10, $7,
$4.
We're charging $5 for your kids to come to the movies for an hour and a half. We're just going to show the Mario 3 trailer like 15 times. I would have been like, Mom, I gotta go. I must see this. And I would have been like just as happy, probably happier.
Yeah, right. And let's see, I'm trying to think of even like what year we would have met you. It probably would have been kind of around that time.
Oh, that's interesting. I would like to think I knew you guys by the time this movie came out. What year?
It was 89.
This is 89. I'm 7. I think so. I think I was in day camp.
I think it might have been like
88, 89.
Yeah, so like right at this
right
time. So it's even possible that we saw it together.
I know we
went to a ton
like,
of movies together.
That's
and I
correct.
remember we went to a ton of movies in 1989.
I can't stress this enough. We were really bad at sports. Like we needed like some other interest to define our personalities.
This is true. Yeah. I definitely saw a lot of movies with you and your family, and
we love movies.
What else?
We love movies.
Yeah. What else are we gonna do? And Dan, weren't you Jeff's babysitter for a time?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have played Nintendo otherwise, probably because we didn't have it. So
we would occasionally rent if we were really good. We would rent a Sega Genesis from Blockbuster for
your
a
parents
weekend.
seem to hold pretty firm on the let's not have video games in the house
had
line,
Game
which
Boys.
is pretty reasonable.
Well, no,
I don't even think that's an option with kids anymore.
Well, that's right. We had the Commodore 64.
Oh yeah, you guys had that Commodore 64, which has like
jealous.
a pretty legit gaming scene. That's like you guys were the only people I knew with the Commodore 64. You have to like turn it on and be like, you have to like know the
you had to program
initiation sequence, be like run the system,
C
like do
dash.
stuff. You had to like
to turn the two keys at the same time.
Pretty much.
Kind of, yeah. But I remember
there's some great games.
There's
for
some
that.
good Commodore.
The Indiana Jones games were great.
It's definitely like fondly remembered Commodore 64 as a gaming platform.
I got
like,
Scott for like
preserved.
I don't know, a birthday or a holiday or something. The like the miniature Commodore 64 that you plug into the TV. I'm pretty sure he hasn't taken it out of the box, but.
That's cool though. That's cool.
It's sitting next to candy from the early 90s.
I'm kind of surprised, actually,
and pizza
Riot
boxes.
doesn't produce a movie. Riot's the company that makes League of Legends, which is one of the big competitive games. Like Riot should be making a movie about a kid who's really good at League of Legends, or Blizzard can make a movie about a kid who's good at Overwatch or whatever.
I think that it's complicated because right now video games are so, video game companies like that are just like, we're making tons of money. And then it's like they look at the movie industry and it's like, that seems like a bad investment. Like right now to make a movie is,
it's also so splintered. It's so splintered. Whereas like in the late 80s, everyone, if you were aware of pop culture, you were aware of Nintendo and Super Mario Brothers. And prior to that, like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Q*bert,
the aforementioned bride of Josh Gad.
Do you think in the next 5 years there will be a Fortnite movie? There hasn't been one yet because it's so transparently a bad idea and makes no sense whatsoever.
Battle Royale?
What would it possibly be?
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale. That's funny.
Battle Royale.
But
that's the Hunger Games movie. The Hunger Games prequel.
I guess, but I guess if it was remotely a good idea, they'd have done it already. But still, do you think they'll make 5 years from now? Do you think they'll be making a Fortnite movie?
No. It's not a good moneymaker. It's not a moneymaker.
I guess it doesn't make Fortnite makes so much money. I guess that's right.
It's a fad.
But let's talk about a game that Dan and I played last night. The Lies
Tell me
game.
about it.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I'll tell you about it. It's your game. Yeah. It's so much fun.
It's cool. Thank you so much.
Tell us about what inspired the Lies game.
Oh my God.
How'd you come up with this?
All right, guys. First of all, the branding is bad. It's liesgame.com. I like to call it liesgame.com because then it tells people how to get there, and it's a website and stuff. I basically wanted to make a board game and I started making a board game, and I don't know, I prototyped it, but yeah, I guess I'll just tell you what the game is. The way the game works is the game gives you a topic, and it's basically, the game gives you a topic, and everyone has to write a fake fact about that topic. And then the game combines all those fake facts, and then along with a real one, you have to try to pick out the real one. So it's a lot like Balderdash. If you play Balderdash, Balderdash gives you a word, and you have to come up with a fake definition, and then it puts all the fake definitions along with the real definition. There's a lot of games kind of in like the pick the real answer sort of genre. I thought I wanted to make one where you got to like write an entire answer. To my knowledge, there was not one where you actually got to like make up something whole cloth. Like it's sometimes you get to like write a phrase or a fragment or like fill in a blank or pick a card. But this is something where you actually like get to like make up a whole sentence and like kind of concoct a whole lie by yourself. It started as a board game. The problem was that it was a lot of paper, frankly. Like every time I play tested it, like, and it was just like a ton of paper on the table, just like crumpled up. And it was like, this sucks. And also like you have to write a whole sentence. I don't know if you guys have written a sentence with a paper and a pen lately. It sucks. It's like, you know, you're like,
I had to write like my phone number, and my hand started to cramp up.
If I have to write a check, I'm exhausted.
In case it wasn't clear to anyone listening yet, we're not very good at sports.
And
we get tired from writing a sentence.
So like most sentences you write today, like for me, I'm much more comfortable like writing a sentence on a phone. I am. It's just like so I think most of us are. So I kind of worked with some friends and figured out a way to make it into a phone game.
Yeah, and it's perfect
now it's a website.
It's perfect for right now when everyone's socially distant and doing these hangouts like we did last
process
night.
I just described to you took me I just described like 2 years of work. So like it's just like a coincidence that it happened to like all sort of culminate around this time when like actually the game. It's like, so it's a game you play on your phone, but it hopefully plays more like a board game than a phone game. And like it totally works. So everyone looks at their phone, but there's a lot of things designed to kind of facilitate conversation and make you talk. So it is a good thing it just works over Zoom.
The way that we did it was that we did it in like the streamer mode. And then I just shared my computer screen when we were doing the Zoom thing so that we could each be on our own phones, but you still see like the board essentially.
Yeah, the game is essentially designed so that you could play it like when you're out and about, like, you know, like you can play it at a bar or online at Disneyland or at a face licking competition or just whatever else you're doing once COVID's cured, you know? So you could just do it while you're
places
out.
No one should be right now.
It doesn't require a computer screen, you know, like a central computer, but there is an option if you like want to stream it. Like there is an option to sort of like display everything in a kind of a central way. But yeah, everyone kind of look at their phone, but we did some things to make it so that even though you're looking at your phone, like there's things that make you talk to each other so that you can kind of satisfy your base need to be on your phone, but you are spending time with your loved ones and actually hanging out.
And Laura, my wife, she loves the meaningless timer. She gets really into the meaningless timer.
That's so satisfying because a lot of the I'm so glad to hear that because a lot of the details took a long time to work out. And the meaningless timer was one. The way the game works is, it just like, I didn't want to invoke a timer because I didn't want it to stress anyone out. I didn't want anyone to be like, you know, I just like, we try a timer and people just it just like ruins the game. It just straight up ruins the game for a lot of people. And just wanted to be like a chill, fun time. Like, and so it was just, but if you didn't have a timer, there are people who just like really take their time and like could take minutes or whatever. And like finally the solution we came up with was when half the people are done answering, they have the ability to invoke a meaningless timer. And that just kind of adds a countdown to everyone's screen. And then when it's over, it says you can make fun of the people who are still going and it tells you who's still going. Yeah. So like you can still enter an answer but it just gives you like some sense that like the crowd wants you to move on.
It's very satisfying.
That's a detail that took some time to work out. So I'm really glad that
totally
you liked it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It's also great. The artwork is awesome. I really like the artwork.
Thank you. Yeah, I worked with a designer named Bethany Kennedy on it, and I love the style. It's really cool. She did a great job with it. So yeah, it's a website and it's free. You don't need an app. Like it's just a website, so it can run on anything with a phone. So like as long as you and the people you know are on phones, whether you're on Zoom or hanging out in real life, you can just go to liesgame.com, liesgame.com, and then I think it's pretty self-explanatory from there.
So we have a question for you.
Yeah.
This happened last night, but what happens when you accidentally...
What happens if someone enters a true answer?
Yeah, what happens if you lie the truth?
This is in the instructions. So, yeah, the idea is you have to enter a fake fact. But, like, obviously, like, I can't do anything to police people entering real facts. And so,
well, here's the thing.
What if you don't know?
I didn't know that I was entering an actual fact.
He thought he was lying.
So, in the instructions, it specifies if you enter a true fact, you lose even if you find out later. And I think there's a funny joke with it. I can't remember what I wrote though. It's like, yeah, I think you lose even retroactively. The reason it's true that you lose even if you weren't sure is because that kind of puts the impetus on you to make up a ridiculous lie. Like
I thought I was making up a ridiculous lie.
Well,
sometimes Jeff, the truth is very strange.
But it's true. But like the reason. If you tell the truth, if you accidentally enter the truth, you lose the game. And like the game didn't tell you that, your friends have to tell you that. That's like the best I can do with it. But I think it should be true, even if you aren't sure.
Dan, don't tell Laura. She's gonna.
But
because I won that game.
The reason I like that rule, even from a gameplay point of view, even though I can't like actually like it's something players just have to do for themselves, it's like not in the game, is because it does put the pressure on you to make up a ridiculous lie, and you're like, oh, is this true? Like, I don't know, maybe this is true. Then like you're not lying ridiculously.
Yeah, and there's
there's
like a psychology about it where it's like you want to make sure that you're coming up with a lie that seems plausible. But
yeah,
you know,
well, that was the other piece of it was I did some research to like generate facts that sound made up but are true. And that there's like a real, like, I don't know, like real specific, like they have to be short enough that someone could feasibly come up with it on the spot, but like, and sound fake, but also be made up, but also be about an interesting topic. So hopefully like you get to learn some like cool trivia while you're playing. That was the other problem with making it a board game is it's like they're completely not repeatable. Like once you learn one of those facts, like you'll never not know it. Like you'll always be able to pick it up from multiple choice lists. So like the cards, like a Trivial Pursuit question, if I ask you the question like a year later, you like may not be able to come up with the answer again. But like in this game, you just pick it from multiple choice lists. It just didn't make sense to like print it on a card, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how the game came together. Liesgame.com.
Liesgame.com. Another nice touch is that sometimes the answers have like intentional misspellings or grammatical errors to kind of throw you off, which is nice.
Yeah, that was one of those other details that took a while to find, to kind of figure out. And the reason for that is just so that like even if you see a typo, you can't rule it out as like that's the fake answer. Like even ones with typos are sometimes right.
It's great. It's a lot of fun.
That's so great. I mean, this is like, I've never done anything like this. And so, and it took a long time to come together, and it's been really satisfying to hear.
And I've also played it with people who don't
get it.
Yeah. I've also played with people who don't know you, and they also like it. So,
that's great.
Because like last night it was, the four of us and we all clearly know you. So.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very
I would have liked it anyway.
Yeah.
It's been really satisfying to see people like I've never done it, and like to see people like play the game and get it, and like they just like people get it. They understand how to play it, and usually they have fun. Some people like don't like coming up with lies. That's fine. That no problem. Your game. Like I think the thing about this game is that it's harder to play than some other games because you do have to come up with something out of whole cloth, but it makes it that much more satisfying because you came up with it yourself, and like I don't think there's other games you can kind of get that satisfaction of like coming up with a complete lie, coming up with some bullshit and like fooling your friends into believing that over the truth. So like it's harder to do, but I think it's more satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
I had a hard time because the things I kept thinking of, I was like, no, wait, that's true.
Yeah,
can't say that. It's weird, but it's true.
Yeah, well, that's the challenge, and that's the fun part.
Oh yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I can't wait to play again. Liesgame.com.
Liesgame.com, folks. Thank you so much.
Dan, was there anything you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
Just briefly, because we are talking about child stars, and we talked about like where Jackey Vinson ended up. And I mean, I do hope that, he's in a better place now than he was in 2004. But when you, looking at the other young actors in the movie, it's this one's a little bit more uplifting because we've got, the success stories of Fred Savage, who by the way, if you did not see his series, The Grinder, with Rob Lowe.
Yeah, he's funny.
It's so good.
So it was great, but he's been directing shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and the Goldbergs.
I think he was which has there's a
I think he did some It's Always Sunny. Did you say that? Sorry.
Oh, he did a bunch.
The Goldbergs has. I read that there's a wizard reference in one of the episodes, so I'm wondering if he was involved with that one.
Funny.
Well, and he's also, I guess he's going to be involved with the rebooted Wonder Years.
Oh,
in some capacity, he's going to be.
Have you heard? Did I ever tell you my idea for a new version of the Wonder Years? You re-release all of the Wonder Years, but you replace Daniel Stern's narration with adult Fred Savage, just word for word.
That's interesting.
So you're going to Hayden Christensen, Daniel Stern right out of it.
Well,
that's an interesting twist. I'm kind of curious. He's such a good actor.
You could do it now.
He was really quite good in the movie. He really was. I could see why he was like. It made me want to kind of go back and watch some Wonder Years. He was really good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And yeah, so he and he's been quoted as saying, you could still have a productive, crime-free life growing up in show business.
Throwing shade at Lucas.
He says, I'm sure there's a lot more kids who played Little League who've gone on to become murderers, but no one says don't play Little League.
Whoa.
So Fred Savage coming out strong.
Yeah, no kidding.
Savage.
And
a savage indeed.
And Jenny Lewis, as everyone, well, maybe not everybody, but as a lot of people know.
I can't believe we didn't discuss Rilo Kiley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually remember her.
Were you at that show at Brownies?
That's exactly, I had to say it. Yeah,
it was August 20th, 2001, because I looked it up recently when that was.
We saw Ozma. We went to see Ozma.
It was Ozma, Not a Surf, and then these bands that we didn't know called Rilo Kiley and The Gravel Pit.
I don't remember The Gravel Pit. Is The Gravel Pit still around?
Nope. I don't know.
But here's what I will say is I remember there was Rilo Kiley playing. At this point, I think most people have heard of Rilo Kiley because they went on.
Yeah.
This was like a very small show. They were like not famous. Definitely by far like the biggest band I ever saw in a smallest venue.
Yeah.
And but I kind of remember you were like, by the way, this band Rilo Kiley, like, I was only vaguely aware of who Jenny Lewis was. I was mostly excited because the kid from Salute Your Shorts was in it. And you were like, yeah, there's this band with the kid from... And that's the only time I've ever bought the opening band CD. They were so good, I bought their CD, which I've never done before or since. I bought the opener's band CD, which is so rare. It was great. It was great.
I remember...
They were totally great.
I remember while they were playing, I was like, is that the... Wasn't he in Salute Your Shorts? And then some
My memory is you knew it beforehand.
Really? See, I remember...
That's my memory, but I remember
learning it by saying like something about it there, and then some rando turned around and be like, and she was in... She's the girl from The Wizard. And I was like, whoa!
And Trip Beverly Hills.
Right, but we were more likely to know her from The Wizard than True Beverly Hills.
Even then, like, I had seen The Wizard, and like I could not remember what her... I watched The Wizard yesterday, and I couldn't tell you what her role in the movie was. I mean, it's just like that's the Wizard, you know. She's like in the non-Nintendo part of the movie,
right? So Jenny Lewis killing it. She's so good.
Jenny Lewis definitely. Luke Edwards seems to be he did Little Big League, and I believe he's still acting.
Still working, I think.
Yeah,
and Christian Slater,
still working.
Christian Slater, Mr. Robot.
Was he not famous at this point? Was he like not like? Is this pre-Pump Up the Volume?
This was just post Heathers, just pre-Pump Up the Volume.
He was in this after he made fucking Heathers, and then he was like the third banana in The Wizard, like the fourth or fifth banana.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
that is wild. I thought this was like just like they caught him on the upswing or something. But like, it's crazy to imagine he made Heathers, and then he was like, I don't know, playing it like.
I'm gonna hang out with Bo Bridges for a few months.
Yeah, Bo Bridges. It's called Ninja Turtles, man.
He had bigger roles in Gleaming the Cube, which was a year before this. The Legend of Billie Jean, which I think was like 85 or 86.
Yeah. He's like got nothing to do. Again, he must have been in that other hour of the movie. He must be in the deleted scenes or something because he has nothing to do in this version of the movie. He could exercise his character without answering any plot elements.
Yeah, and then we have Tobey Maguire, founding member of the Pussy Posse. And, he's doing okay. He was Spider-Man.
Sure. Yep.
He's doing all right. Yeah. Seabiscuit. He was not Seabiscuit.
No. They loved having sex with women.
The Pussy Posse, famously.
Yeah, that was their thing. They thought intercourse was good.
Yeah.
Was that Toby, Leo?
That's the only people I remember.
It's a weird crew. It's like they're the most famous.
Was Mark Wahlberg?
It's like E from Entourage. Like it's a weird crew. And Lucas Haas is one of them.
Lucas Haas, really?
It's like that. Yeah, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, all right, who's he running with? And it's like Lucas Haas,
and only because it just feels like it would be right. But I feel like Scott Conn was probably in there somewhere too.
I think they were like all like bratty actors, and they were all like auditioning for like all these movies together. Like they probably all auditioned for The Wizard.
Yeah,
that's I'm sure. There were quite a few. The wizard could have gone many different ways.
So, Jeff, liesgame.com. Is there anything else you want to let people know about? Jeff Rubin Show podcast?
Jeff Rubin Show, my podcast, which has been on hiatus, but will be back soon. And there's like a rich back catalog of interviews with kind of weird and interesting people like Nintendo Power, or I guess they were Nintendo Power, but the people that answer that Nintendo hotline in the movie, there's a scene where they just like call a Nintendo person for tips and they're like, how do I beat Simon's Quest? Like that was a real thing. And I interviewed someone who like had that job. So it's stuff
that's
like
very cool.
that.
Well, yeah, it's
they're not all video game themed. They're not all video game
so
themed. That's
the
just
idea
like a
of the
cool
podcast
video.
is just you interview people who interest you just in any way, right?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I wish I'd figured out the premise sooner, but that is what I landed on eventually.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got started on it like pretty early on in the podcasting.
So, it is interesting. I think you even gave me this phrase. Is that possible? Like interviews you didn't know you wanted to hear? Was that you?
Yeah, I think so.
I still use that. Interviews you didn't know you wanted to hear. I use that all the time. Like when I email people and ask them to be on the show, I'm like, I usually describe the show as interviews you didn't know you wanted to hear. Like I use it all the time. So thank you for that. That is a good way of describing it.
I joined you. I engineered an episode you did with
with in LA with what's his name? Wayne
Neil Berkeley. He directed the Wayne White documentary.
Right. That was fun though. So the Jeff Rubin Show, liesgame.com. The Power Glove. If you guys have an extra Power Glove, just send it to me and I will review it on my podcast. I'll make a whole episode devoted to me trying it out. If it doesn't require a CRT TV, though, actually, I do have someone with CRT TV. Even if it requires, I'll figure it out. Just get me the Power Glove.
Or does it require a sensor?
I'm sure I think it requires a sensor, but if it requires a sensor, it probably doesn't need the TV. Anyway,
because Duck Hunt, you needed the CRT, I think.
You send me the stupid glove, I'll figure the rest
out. And then, Dan, you want to tell everyone what our next episode is? We hinted at it before.
Yeah, no. So it's going to be we're going to be wrapping up our Child Star month and I guess our somewhat Cranford guest star month. Yeah, Child Star, Box Brown. Don't forget to check out his
Jeff, you should check out the Heavyweights episode because Box Brown, he's the best. Did you ever hang with him at all?
A little bit. I know him a little bit, yeah.
Good dude. Great artist.
So
yeah, he's good. I've looked at his work and it is great.
But has very little to do with the Bad News Bears. Right. So next, we'll be talking about the original. We'll be talking about the 2005 remake.
We'll touch on the sequels.
Who's your Cranford themed guest, though?
Oh, we don't have one for that one.
I thought there was a Cranford themed guest. I was excited.
Me? Dan?
Us.
Yeah. No, it just happened to work out that, you two were perfect for what we were going to be doing. So
that's fun. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
No, this is fun.
And by the way, did you catch when they mentioned Timberlake West in Uncut Gems? In Uncut Gems, it's like gets name checked. It's like,
look at it. That is money. That's not mine. That I sent to you because I wanted to calm you down.
We know for a fact that you placed a bet with that money.
Never placed a bet with that money.
Yes, you did.
No,
no. Let me ask you something. I heard that Benny and Eddie are going to Timberlake. And you know what else I heard? I heard you resurface your fucking swimming pool. You know how that makes me feel?
Never
You think your life is more important than
I
mine?
don't know who said that. Give me the key to one. Shut the fuck up. Give me the keys to your fucking car. Give me the fucking keys. Fine.
Someone's like, oh yeah, like she's sending his daughter to Timberlake West, and I was like,
I did not
say
catch
West.
that.
They say Timberlake.
Oh, I think I might have caught that a little bit. And then he said something about making him come.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
Probably. I don't know. That movie's one of the most stressful experiences of my life. It was a great movie, but
absolutely.
I hated it, and I'll never see another one of the Safdie brothers movies. Anyway, thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been great having you, Jeff. And as we say, John, go ahead.
Well, we sign off every episode with a line from the 1987 film Masters of the Universe. Good journey.
Good journey.
Good journey.
I wish I could ride away on a dinosaur. I wish I could breathe in space and spend